Hebrews chapter 12, verses 1 and 2. Therefore, since we also have such a large cloud of witnesses surrounding us, let us lay aside every weight and the sin that so easily ensnares us. Let us run with endurance the race that lies before us, keeping our eyes on Jesus, the source and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy that lay before him endured a cross, despised the shame, and is sat down at the right hand of God's throne. Galatians 5, verse 13 says, "For you were called to be free, brothers. Only don't use this freedom as an opportunity for the flesh, but serve one another through love." I don't know what burdens you have brought into this place today. This is not going to be long. I don't know what burdens you've brought in today, but I know that if we could see in the spiritual, I believe we would see people with something like 50-pound bags of doubt and depression, hurt, anger, stress and worry and unforgiveness. It's all making it impossible for us to run. The irony is that it's sort of like getting older as I begin to recognize there's things that even I can't do as much as what maybe I could have 20 years ago. But we get adjusted to it because it's like the frog in the pot of water when we turn up the heat. He won't hop out. If you put the frog in the pot of hot water, he'll jump out. But if you put him in the lukewarm water, the cool water, and you turn it up over a period of time, he'll adjust to it. And I believe that we have allowed the burdens that have been on our hearts and our lives. It's just been there so long that you don't even realize it's there anymore. I realized when a doctor first told me that I needed to go get a CPAP, I had not even realized how poorly I slept until I slept better. And now, if I travel somewhere, I take it with me because I won't sleep well. But in the moment, I would tell Michelle, would say, I think you need to go, this was like 12, 13 years ago. She'd say, I think you need to go get checked. I'm going, no, I'm fine. But, 12, 13 years ago, it wasn't as impactful, being a little bit tired as what, it would be even now. You don't realize that you're not running spiritually. Many people are likely barely holding. Now, I want to tell you something before we start, because I want to make sure we're paying. Here's the thing. If you think this is not for you, it is. I'm just telling you, it is. I believe it's for all of us, because there aren't many people that aren't carrying some kind of hurt. I'm not just talking about that somebody did something to you or whatever else, but that may be it too. And we'll talk about some of that. But we stay ineffective because we've gotten used to carrying the burden. Willie probably has to at times go out on a run in the military with his guys and probably have to carry a rucksack. And you're used to it. You're used to it because you do it regularly. What if we took and put an extra 50-pound weight in there? I almost today, I forgot because I would have had to driven the truck. I had told myself before I went to bed last night, drive the truck. I didn't drive the truck because I had 50-pound bags of shelled corn for deer in the back of it. And I was going to make JJ, come up, get some 50-pound bags of corn. I've carried a 50-pound bag of corn down the hill to, you know, that wasn't a walkway hill, but down the hill to my deer feeder, a couple times, and it's very consuming. Right now, some people are, they're better, they're better muscly in shape, muscularly, and so maybe carrying 50 pounds is not as big a deal. But when you're going down a hill like this, and there's rocks that tend to, in the leaves, tend to slide and want to roll and whatever else. So you stay very, very focused, right? You have to pay a lot of attention. I have to look where I'm putting my feet. I have to constantly adjust my weight, right? Because at any point in time, particularly if you're only carrying one, it's not evenly distributed. And so it'll tend to get you on one side if you don't try to balance, and so you'll compensate. And as I went down that hill, I haven't fallen down. God, thank the good Lord, I haven't fallen down doing it, but I've come close a couple of times where I hadn't had to throw the bag down yet either. I've done it a handful of times because I went down this last year. Only went hunting once, but I went and fed them like I was, like they were one of my kids. But I realized that when you're carrying that burden, when you're carrying that 50-pound bag of corn, you can't focus on much else. Right about then, if a bear would have come out the woods, well, he'd have got me because I couldn't outrun him anyway. But I was so focused. I mean, honestly, if there'd have been a snake there or something like that, and most of the time I'll put my snake gaiters on because of that. I'll put something on to make sure, because I can't pay that much attention to everything that's going on around, because I have to be focused on that I'm carrying this burden. Some of you've been carrying some burdens for so long that you don't even think about it anymore, but yet your mind subconsciously focuses on that. It has to, because you have to compensate. When you see other people with their children, maybe it hurts your heart. When you see other people with their dad, maybe it hurts your heart. When you see other people with their mom, maybe it hurts your heart. When you see other people that look like they have a happy marriage, maybe it hurts your heart. There's just stuff that's there that you try to keep bottled up, and you try to keep it pressed down, but many people are barely holding on. We just don't admit it. We just don't talk about it. And spiritually, if we could see, we would see that you're just shuffling your feet. You're not running. We're shuffling our feet. We're trying to keep moving. We're trying to at least not go backwards. And I think if we could see people spiritually when they let down the guard, when they get home away from people and away from everybody at church, that you're supposed to act like everything's okay. Our marriage is okay. This is okay. That's okay. The kids it'll be all right. It'll be okay. If we could see spiritually, I think we would see people standing with their head hanging down. There's supposed to be a talking slide right now. There's a talking slide. Yeah. I was starting right off with music, because I told you this isn't going to be long. I think we would see people that were standing with their head hanging down. I'm fighting you up here. I'm doing that to you. That's why that's moving back there. He's like, it's moving. It's moving. I like doing yard work. Yesterday, I did about half of what I call the weed eating. All the other weeks we do some weed eating. Right? But when I get ready once a year for sure to do the weed eating, I have to weed eat the pond, I have to weed eat around the creek. Well, I didn't get the whole creek done yesterday, but I got the pond done, and I got a portion of the creek, and I got some other stuff done. Now, hey, yesterday was good. I was slow coming back up through the yard, but I wasn't all breathing hard or anything like that. It's the craziest thing. Doctor always gets mad. Like, I don't know why there's not more stuff wrong with you. You heavy. I said, don't sound disappointed. Nurses act like they disappointed. Okay, why is there not something else wrong with you? But there's been times, where, man, I've gotten out there and I didn't take care of myself well, Joey, and Michelle will try to make sure. And I've gotten better about it because I think about it now. Hey, do you need something to drink? Do you need me to bring you something down there? I say, hey, I've already had something. Or sometimes I'll be like, hey, yeah, it wouldn't hurt. I hadn't been back up. I try to make my way past the shop a couple of times, while I'm doing. But there's been times where when I've done that amount of work that, particularly the weed eating, I've got this sling that's got a stretchy thing on it so that I have to get it adjusted just right because I got some weird combination of lengths here, Willie. When I'm holding my hands down, the weed eater's not all the way down low enough because I want to get it right, like I mowed grass. And so, your back will start hurting. And you'll stop and you kind of stretch it out and stuff. And so all during that yesterday, I was stretching, and so it was good, I stayed. But there's been times where I tried to do like the whole thing. And by the time it was done and you just saw me standing there, particularly when it gets around August, man, I'll just be over there standing and kind of like that. My head's down. Just sweat dripping off my nose. My back's hurting. I think there's some people that if we'd let it show, that's the way you feel spiritually when you quit putting on the show. Head hanging down, breathing hard, you hurt, you're unsure. We're trying not to let it show. Trying to not think back on the pain. Trying not to think about the hurt. Put a good face forward. So other people don't see that you're struggling to forgive that person from high school that really embarrassed you really badly or really treated you really harsh. Or maybe it was something from your childhood. Maybe it was from your family. Maybe it was from your marriage. And I thought about, the last couple of days, I thought about the windows of heaven are lined with people, though. That's what that first verse, Hebrews 12:1 says, therefore, since we have such a large cloud of witnesses surrounding us. I thought, what does that mean? What does that mean? The windows of heaven get lined with the people that are looking and seeing your life, and they're seeing our lives, and they're seeing the struggle. And it's people that want to cheer you on. They want to see you run free. But that weight will hold you down. That weight's almost made you collapse at times. Just you didn't let anybody see it because we here in the South, we have this thing. I noticed when we lived in the 4 years we lived up in Indiana, moved from here to there and then moved back, I learned something. I learned that here, the little lady at the grocery store, she'll say, how you doing? And we'll talk to her, right? Well, I'm doing pretty good, but the cat got loose, earlier today and hadn't. But oh my goodness, did you? Did you find them? Yeah. I realized I'm getting older, Alan, because I was at Best Buy Friday night. I've got ripped off a couple of times trying to get a good bargain on some AirPods on Facebook Marketplace and did not. Tried everything I could, Willie, to make sure they were legit. I finally found the right answer on being able to check, but mine were they were just going terrible on me last weekend. I like to use them when I'm mowing grass because boy, me and God will worship for about 4 hours because it takes about that long. It takes about 3 to mow the grass, what I'm learning, and then if you're gonna do some weed eating, so I was there in line, and I'm talking to the lady there, and we're talking about the warranty on it or whatever. And when I walked up there, Alan, there wasn't anybody in line behind me. And so I'm still talking to her about that. And I was telling her, well, I'm going to wear them while I'm mowing grass, whatever else. And hey, I appreciate. And I'd been there. And then out of the corner of my eye, I saw there were 4 people in line behind me. And I said, I'm so sorry, y'all. And I turned around and, went leaving. I thought, I have become officially old. I have. I was just talking to that. When we lived in Indiana, we realized something. When that little girl at the cash register said, she didn't say, how you doing? How are you doing? Right? She did not want to know. She didn't want to have a conversation at all. It was just, I think I'm supposed to say that. And the first time that I talked to one of them, she looked at me like a calf looking at a new gate. I learned, don't do that. You just they don't want to. I waved at somebody one time with somebody from up there in the car with me, and we're riding down the road, and I hadn't seen a car in a while, Willie, and somebody came by, and I had my hand up on the steering wheel, and I went, and that guy from work goes, "You know them?" I said, "No." He said, "Why'd you wave at them?" I said, "We ain't seen anybody in a little while." He was like, "What?" I said, "I'm just being friendly." He said, "But you didn't know them." See, sometimes we know, and we know this. We know. Even when we show up for church, sometimes we know that the reality is. I've told y'all this before. We know that the reality is, even though people don't mean to be this way. So when somebody says, well, how's your week been? If you really, sometimes you had a great week. But there's times where, hey, you wrestled with some stuff. Hey, it's the anniversary of something. And it came in your heart and it hurt and you cried some. And if you really were able to say to somebody, hey, you know what? I got to thinking this week about the hurt that my mom did to me when I was hey, I got to thinking about the hurt that when my dad just went off and left us and never wanted to be in my life. Hey, I got to thinking about the hurt when this happened with my kids. Hey, I got to thinking about the hurt when my grandmother passed away. Hey, I got to thinking about the hurt when I got so embarrassed as a kid in high school. And I know everybody thought I should have just got up, but it just came back. I saw somebody in town from school and that thing rushed back, and I've tried to fight it, push it down, whatever it is. If we know that we go to telling that kind of stuff, people are like, oh man, I wasn't really wanting you to tell, right? Even at church sometimes, right? But heaven, think about it, heaven has this great cloud of witnesses that are watching your life. I don't know who all it is. They can't. Again, I don't know if they can really be watching all of us, or But I'll be honest. There's been some times in the last handful of years where I've done something or thought something. I thought, oh, I bet my granddaddy's embarrassed by that. Because I've tried to start reminding myself that Hey, my granddaddy and my pawpaw and my mama on both sides, they're up there because they knew Jesus. And they want to cheer my life on, and they want to cheer ministry on, Joey, and they want to cheer my marriage on, and they want to cheer my relationship with my kids on, and they want to do all this stuff, and they're going, you can do this, and they're going, and that's happening, I think, in you as well. There's people that have known you or that saw that you were coming to Christ, and they want you to live out the life that God wants for you in this, and they see the hurt and they see the pain and they're wanting to cheer you on. There's this great cloud of witnesses. And I think so many times when I've read Hebrews 12:1, that second half of that first verse, it says, so let us lay aside every weight and the sin that so easily ensnares us and run with endurance. I've thought, JJ, that it was more about, hey, place well in the race. But it dawned on me this week. It dawned on me. It's also about that they look and they're this great cloud of witnesses, including Jesus, that's wanting to cheer your life on, that's the Holy Spirit that's trying to empower you, and yet realizes that as much as He's trying to give you traction and horsepower, you're carrying this huge weight. You got this burden. I watched it again here recently. JNA, everybody knows what that is, right? Forrest Gump. I watched Forrest Gump here, I don't know, probably about 2 months back. And I think about this, although I know it doesn't seem like it's necessarily like a heavy burden. I think about it like when he's trying to get away from those kids. He's got that shuffle going because he's bound up. He's restrained. He's kept from being able to run free. And the more that he starts trying to go, and he's throwing those feet, right? He's throwing them, and all of a sudden it goes into slow motion, Willie. That's what you got to do. You got to go in slow motion. And you start seeing the little screws, popping out and all of this. And when he gets ready, he talks about it, he says, and I just started running and I've never stopped running since. That is what God wants in your life. You're getting around by the shuffle, carrying the burden that makes it hard for you to move with agility when opportunities present themselves, when there are chances. And so you want to be faster. You want to be able to be, but anymore, you're just used to it. It's what you do until you get set free. And all of a sudden you realize, once like a bird in prison, I dwelt. Old hymn. No freedom from my sin and sorrow I felt. But Jesus came